My dear sisters, let me tell you something profound. The world today is not lacking beautiful faces, it's lacking beautiful souls. It's not short of successful women, it's short of peaceful ones. Every day, we see women chasing validation, attention, and approval. But the real journey, the most fulfilling journey, is the one that leads you to becoming a high-value woman. A woman who doesn't chase, she attracts. A woman who doesn't beg for respect, she commands it. And this journey is not about becoming someone the world wants you to be. It's about becoming the woman God intended you to be. Know your worth before anyone else does. These words sound simple, but they hold the power to completely transform your life. You see, the problem today is not that people don't have value. It's that they've forgotten how valuable they are. A woman who doesn't know her worth will always settle for less. Less love, less respect, less peace. And the world, my friends, will always treat you according to the value you place on yourself. Think about it. A diamond never goes on sale. You won't find it in a bargain bin or see it begging to be bought. Why? Because it knows its worth. It doesn't lower its price to be chosen. The right buyer will always come, and they will pay the full price. A high-value woman lives by the same principle. She doesn't chase people. She attracts them by her confidence, her peace, and her grace. She understands that being herself is her greatest strength. Let me share a simple example. There was once a young woman who worked in a corporate office. Every day she gave her best. She came early, stayed late, helped her team, and kept a smile on her face. But despite all her effort, no one seemed to notice her. Her boss never appreciated her, her colleagues often took credit for her work, and she began to doubt herself. One evening, she sat alone in her apartment and thought, maybe I'm just not good enough. The next morning, she met an older woman in the elevator, someone who'd been in the company for years. The lady looked at her and said, "You look tired, my dear. Why are you carrying so much on your shoulders?" The young woman sighed and said, "Because I'm trying so hard and no one seems to see me." The older woman smiled and said something she would never forget. Don't work to be seen, work to be valuable. When you know your worth, the right eyes will find you. That day changed her life. She stopped trying to please everyone and started focusing on becoming better, not for them, but for herself. Slowly, things shifted. Her ideas were noticed, her leadership was recognized, and soon she got promoted. But what truly changed wasn't her position. It was her perception of herself. She realized she didn't need validation. She needed vision. Every woman listening today has gone through a moment like that. When you feel unseen, unappreciated, or unloved. Maybe you're in a relationship where your efforts go unnoticed. Maybe you're at a job where your talent is ignored. Or maybe you're surrounded by people who make you feel small. But hear me, your value doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it. Gold is still gold, even if it's buried in the dirt. You must stop handing people the calculator to measure your worth. People will only see you as deeply as they've seen themselves. If they live shallow lives, they will only notice the surface of you, your appearance, your mistakes, your flaws. But when you know who you are, their opinions lose power. You begin to walk differently, talk differently, think differently. You no longer beg for love, you radiate it. You no longer chase opportunity, you create it. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is talking loudly, competing for attention, trying to prove themselves. Now imagine the woman who enters quietly, with calm confidence. She doesn't have to speak too much. Her energy says everything. People notice her, not because she's loud, but because she's grounded. That's what knowing your worth looks like. Silent strength. In life, people will always have opinions about you. Some will praise you, others will criticize you. But neither defines you. A wise woman once said, "If you live for their approval, you'll die by their rejection." When you know your worth, you stop being shaken by opinions. You realize that people can only give you what they have, and many have nothing but noise. Don't let that noise drown out your inner voice. Self-worth is not arrogance. It's not thinking you're better than others. It's simply understanding that you are enough as you are. You don't need to compete, compare, or convince anyone. You just need to continue growing, learning, and being kind to yourself first. Think of a garden. You can't expect it to bloom if you keep watering everyone else's plants and forget your own. The same goes for your worth. When you constantly give your energy to others' opinions, you neglect the most important relationship, the one with yourself. Spend time with your thoughts. Reflect. Ask yourself, what makes me happy? What are my values? What kind of woman do I want to become? The answers to these questions are where your worth begins to shine. And remember, people will mirror how you treat yourself. If you respect yourself, they will respect you. If you doubt yourself, they will too. Confidence is contagious. When you carry yourself with quiet dignity, the world starts responding differently. I once heard someone say, when you finally decide that you are enough, the world will start treating you like it. And it's true. You attract what you believe you deserve. So stop settling for half love, for one-sided friendships, for environments that make you shrink. Walk away from anything that doesn't align with the woman you are becoming. You don't have to prove your worth, you only have to live it. Wake up every morning, look in the mirror and remind yourself, I am valuable, I am not behind, I am not less. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't wait for the world to recognize her. She recognizes herself first. And when that happens, something beautiful unfolds. The universe begins to move differently for her. Opportunities open. Love deepens, peace settles in her heart. So, my dear sisters, stop asking, am I enough? You already are, always were, always will be. The moment you truly believe that, your life will never, ever be the same again. Set boundaries like a queen, because every woman who values herself must learn the art of saying no without guilt, the art of protecting her peace without apology. You see, the world has a way of testing how much you can take. It will keep asking, keep demanding, and keep taking until you have nothing left to give. A woman without boundaries will find herself exhausted, unappreciated, and misunderstood. But a woman who sets boundaries walks in quiet power. She doesn't scream for respect, she earns it through her calm, confident refusal to be treated less than she deserves. There's a difference between being kind and being a people pleaser. Keenness comes from strength, pleasing comes from fear. Many women have been taught to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, to keep everyone comfortable, even if they themselves are uncomfortable. But the truth is, constantly saying yes to others means you are saying no to yourself. And sooner or later, that catches up with you in your energy, in your peace, in your sense of self. Let me share an example. There was a woman who worked in an office where everyone relied on her. Whenever someone needed help, she was the first one to volunteer. When her boss asked her to stay late, she agreed. When friends called her at midnight to talk about their problems, she listened. Slowly, she became everyone's go-to person. But one day, she woke up feeling completely drained. Her body was tired, her mind was cluttered, and her heart was heavy. She realized that while she had been there for everyone, no one had been there for her. That day, she decided to change. She started setting small boundaries. She stopped answering calls after 9 p.m. She said no when she truly couldn't help, and she took weekends for herself. At first, people got upset. Some called her selfish, others said she had changed. But what she realized was profound. The ones who truly respected her adjusted. The ones who only used her disappeared. And suddenly, her life became lighter, more peaceful, more joyful. That's the beauty of boundaries. They don't push away the right people, they filter out the wrong ones. A high-value woman understands this truth deeply. She knows that her energy is sacred, her time is valuable, and her peace is priceless. She doesn't let just anyone have access to her emotional space. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, especially those who come only to eat but never to contribute. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring as wisely. It's about recognizing who pours into you and who drains you. It's about choosing your peace over their approval. Some people will test your limits to see if you'll still stay. But every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to your growth. Imagine your life as a beautiful garden. You've planted flowers, your dreams, your peace, your joy. But if you let everyone walk through it, picking flowers, stepping on petals, and leaving footprints of chaos, soon your garden will lose its beauty. Boundaries are the fence that protect it. They're not there to keep love out, they're there to keep respect in. You may wonder, but what if people don't like me after I set boundaries? The truth is, people who truly value you won't be offended by your self-respect. The only ones who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. That's when you realize losing them isn't loss, it's liberation. There was once a mother who loved her family deeply. She cooked, cleaned, worked, and took care of everyone without ever complaining. But inside, she was exhausted. Her family had become so used to her doing everything that they forgot she needed rest too. One day, she fell sick and couldn't move. For the first time, everyone had to manage things on their own. They finally understood how much she did and how much they had taken for granted. When she recovered, she sat them down and said, "I love you all. But love doesn't mean I have to destroy myself to keep you comfortable." That is strength. To speak your truth with love. Boundaries teach others how to treat you. If you don't draw the line, they'll keep crossing it. It's not because they're bad people, it's because you never showed them where the line was. A queen doesn't explain her standards, she lives by them. When you begin to honor your own needs, something magical happens. Your relationships improve. Why? Because you start giving from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You give because you want to, not because you have to. You stop feeling resentful because you're no longer betraying yourself to please others. So many women stay silent because they fear being called difficult. But listen, boundaries don't make you difficult, they make you disciplined. They show that you respect your time, your emotions, and your energy. And the moment you start respecting yourself, others follow. Setting boundaries is also about emotional distance. You don't have to explain your choices to everyone. You don't have to respond to every message, attend every event, or fix every problem. It's okay to step back. It's okay to rest. It's okay to choose yourself. In fact, it's necessary. People often say, "But won't I lose people if I start saying no?" Maybe you will. But remember, sometimes losing people is part of finding yourself. Peace often requires subtraction. At the end of the day, setting boundaries is not about building walls around your heart. It's about creating gates that open for love, respect, and understanding, and close for negativity, manipulation, and disrespect. You're not pushing people away, you're protecting the woman you're becoming. So, say no when you need to. Walk away when it costs your peace. Speak up when something doesn't feel right. And remember, the woman who guards her peace guards her power. Because when you set boundaries like a queen, you remind the world that your life is not open for everyone's convenience. It's a sacred space, and only those who honor it deserve to be part of it. Master the art of silence, because silence, when used with wisdom, can speak louder than words ever could. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, a woman who chooses calm, who chooses peace, who chooses silence, becomes magnetic. People lean in to understand her because she's not reacting like everyone else. She's responding like someone who knows her worth. You see, silence is not weakness. It's control. It's emotional intelligence in action. Most people think being silent means they've lost. But the truth is, sometimes silence is the most powerful answer you can give. When someone tries to provoke you, when someone misjudges you, when someone speaks against you, your silence can protect your peace more than 1,000 explanations ever could. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman who worked very hard in her company. She was talented, focused, and humble. But one of her colleagues became jealous and started spreading rumors about her. She found out and felt deeply hurt. Her first instinct was to confront that person, to defend herself, to make sure everyone knew the truth. But then she remembered something her mentor once told her: never fight battles that God has already decided to win for you. So she stayed silent. She continued doing her work with integrity. She didn't gossip back, didn't argue, didn't try to explain. Months passed, and one day, her boss found out about the lies, not because she spoke up, but because the truth had a way of revealing itself. That colleague was removed, and she was promoted. She learned a beautiful lesson that day. Silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem. It means you're trusting that not every battle deserves your voice. Some situations resolve themselves when you stay still and let life expose the truth. In life, Silence is not emptiness, it's wisdom choosing peace over chaos. When you're misunderstood, your silence keeps your dignity. When people argue just to win, your silence shows maturity. And when the world gets loud, your silence helps you hear your own soul again. There's another kind of silence, the silence of listening. The high-value woman listens more than she speaks. When you truly listen, you learn, you understand people better, you gain perspective. But when you rush to respond, you lose the opportunity to understand. Many relationships fail not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of listening. Silence gives you space to process before reacting. It teaches you that not every emotion deserves to be expressed in the heat of the moment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Imagine someone insults you publicly. Your natural instinct might be to respond, to defend your name. But the moment you react in anger, you give them power over your peace. When you remain calm, your silence unsettles them. Because silence says, I refuse to lower my energy to your level. Silence is the crown of emotional maturity. It's how a woman carries herself when the world tries to shake her spirit. We live in an age of opinions. Everyone wants to prove something, argue something, explain something. But the high-value woman has learned that peace is more precious than being right. She understands that sometimes responding only adds fuel to a fire that will eventually burn out on its own. When you choose silence, you give that fire nothing to feed on. Let me give you another example. A woman once went through a painful breakup. Her partner left her without explanation and moved on quickly. Her friends told her to post something online to show him she was fine, to make him jealous. But she didn't. She stayed silent. She didn't post a thing. She focused on healing, on prayer, on rebuilding herself quietly. A few months later, she looked stronger, more peaceful, more radiant. People started asking, "What happened? How did you change?" She smiled and said, "I stopped explaining myself to people who couldn't hear my silence." That's the power of quiet growth. It doesn't need an audience. Silence teaches patience. When you learn to pause before reacting, you save yourself from regret. Many people lose relationships, jobs, and opportunities simply because they couldn't control their tongue. Words spoken in anger can never be taken back. But silence gives you time to reflect, to understand what's really worth your energy. It helps you respond from strength, not from emotion. Think about nature. The most powerful things in life work silently. The sun rises without noise. The flowers bloom without announcements. The stars shine without shouting for attention. The woman who understands this doesn't chase recognition. She lets her actions, her peace, and her presence do the talking. Silence also helps you connect with yourself. When you spend quiet time alone, no phone, no noise, no distractions, you begin to hear your own heart again. You remember your dreams, your purpose, your values. It's in silence that ideas are born, healing happens, and strength returns. That's why solitude isn't loneliness. It's power. When life gets noisy, step back. Breathe. Listen to your intuition. The answers you're looking for rarely come from the outside world. They come from within you. But you can only hear them in silence. People often mistake silence for indifference. But silence is often the mark of a woman who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. She protects her peace, her energy, and her time. She knows that shouting doesn't solve everything. Sometimes stillness does. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this: your silence can be your strongest reply. The next time you feel tempted to explain your worth, remind yourself: the right people will feel it without you saying a word. The woman who masters silence masters herself. She's not easily triggered. She's not easily shaken. Her calm becomes her power, and that power makes her unforgettable. Because when you choose silence, you don't lose your voice. You strengthen it. You learn to speak only when it truly matters, and when you do, your words carry weight. The world listens not because you're loud, but because your silence before your words made them sacred. And that is the true art of silence, not running away from expression, but mastering when, how, and why to use it. The high-value woman knows that peace isn't found in noise. It's found in the quiet confidence of a heart that no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. Invest in your mind and heart, because no matter how beautiful you look, no matter how expensive your clothes are, no matter how flawless your appearance seems, it is the depth of your mind and the purity of your heart that truly define your value. The world often teaches women to polish the outside, hair, makeup, body, style, but forgets to remind them that true beauty, true elegance, true power comes from within. The mind that keeps learning and the heart that keeps loving are what make a woman truly unforgettable. A high-value woman doesn't stop growing. She understands that her mind is like a garden. If she doesn't plant wisdom, weeds of ignorance will grow. Every book she reads, every experience she learns from, every moment of reflection she takes, they all water that garden. She knows that when she feeds her mind with positive thoughts, knowledge, and purpose, she becomes unstoppable. Let me share with you a story. There was a young woman named Aisha who was very beautiful. Everyone admired her looks, and she often received compliments wherever she went. But deep down, she felt insecure. Whenever she met new people, she felt the pressure to be perfect. She spent hours on her appearance, but never spent a moment nurturing her mind. One day, she attended a conference for women. On stage stood an older woman, simple dress, no heavy makeup. Yet every eye in the room was fixed on her. Her voice was calm, her words were powerful, her wisdom was magnetic. Aisha couldn't stop listening. After the event, she approached the speaker and asked, "What's your secret? How do you speak with such confidence and peace?" The woman smiled and said, "My dear, I spent years working on my mind and heart. Beauty fades, but wisdom, that grows with you. People may forget how you look, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." That moment changed Aisha's life. She started reading, journaling, meditating. She learned to feed her soul, not just her mirror. And slowly she transformed, not from the outside, but from within. People began to notice her calm, her confidence, her insight. She realized that real glow comes not from makeup, but from meaning. This is what it means to invest in your mind and heart. It's not just about education, it's about elevation. Every day you have two choices: to consume junk that distracts you or wisdom that develops you. Many scroll through hours of content that makes them feel empty, comparing themselves to others. But a high-value woman uses that time to read something that nourishes her, to learn something that sharpens her, to reflect on something that grows her. The mind is your greatest tool. When you train it to think positively, to see opportunities instead of obstacles, you become unstoppable. The woman who works on her thoughts can handle any storm. She doesn't break down easily because her mind has been strengthened through growth and gratitude. But the mind alone isn't enough. The heart must grow too. The world can make you bitter if you let it. People will hurt you, disappoint you, betray you. But a strong heart learns to forgive, not for others, but for her own peace. When you carry resentment, it poisons your spirit. But when you let go, your heart becomes light again, free to love, free to give, free to live. I once met a woman who had been through many hardships: divorce, financial loss, betrayal from friends. But she had the most peaceful smile I'd ever seen. When I asked her how she managed to stay so calm, she said, "Because I learned to turn my pain into wisdom. Every heartbreak taught me something. Every failure made me stronger. I stopped asking why me and started asking, what is this trying to teach me?" That, my friends, is the heart of a high-value woman, one that turns her wounds into wisdom. You can always tell when a woman has invested in her inner world. She listens more, reacts less, and radiates peace, even in chaos. She doesn't gossip because her mind is too focused on growth. She doesn't compete because her heart knows everyone is on their own journey. She doesn't hold grudges because her soul is too light to carry anger. When you grow your mind, you begin to attract better opportunities. When you grow your heart, you begin to attract better people. It's a simple law. You attract what you are, not what you want. So if you want love, be loving. If you want respect, be respectful. If you want success, cultivate discipline. The more you improve within, the more your world outside improves automatically. Think of it this way: when you pour clean water into a glass filled with dirt, slowly the dirt starts to fade away. That's what happens when you keep pouring wisdom, kindness, and positivity into your life. The old fears, the insecurities, the anger, they start to fade. You become lighter, clearer, calmer. Investing in your mind and heart also means being selective about what you consume, the conversations you engage in, the people you surround yourself with, the content you watch. Your mind becomes what you feed it. Your heart becomes what you focus on, so feed them both with quality. Talk about dreams, ideas, growth, not gossip, hate, or envy. Spend time with people who inspire you, who challenge you to be better, not those who drain your energy. And when you start to grow from within, your outer world begins to reflect it. The way you walk, talk, and even look at life changes. Your peace becomes your glow. Your smile becomes your strength. Your confidence becomes your crown. People will ask, "What's different about you?" And you'll smile knowing it's not a new outfit, not a new hairstyle, not a new trend, it's a new you. So, dear woman, remember this: the greatest investment you'll ever make is not in gold, not in beauty products, not even in status. It's in your mind and your heart. Because everything you build in life, your relationships, your career, your peace, will come from how strong your inner world is. And when you walk with wisdom in your mind and kindness in your heart, you don't need to prove your value. You become it. The world sees your light, feels your energy, and respects your presence. Not because of how loud you are, but because of how deeply you shine. Heal before you deal, because if you don't heal what hurt you, you'll end up bleeding on people who didn't cut you. Every woman carries a story, some filled with heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, and pain. Life has a way of breaking even the strongest souls. But healing is what transforms that pain into purpose. You can't build a peaceful future with pieces of a broken past. Before you move forward, you must sit with your pain, understand it, and let it teach you what it came to teach. Many women rush through pain, thinking if they ignore it long enough, it will disappear. They distract themselves with work, relationships, or endless business. But pain doesn't leave until it's acknowledged. Healing isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about facing what isn't. The high-value woman doesn't bury her wounds. She faces them with courage. She knows that the only way out of pain is through it. I once met a woman named Sarah. She was kind, loving, and had a heart that wanted to give endlessly. But after a painful breakup, she lost herself. Her trust was shattered, her confidence shaken. Instead of healing, she tried to move on quickly. She jumped into another relationship, hoping it would fill the emptiness inside her, but it didn't. The same problems, the same arguments, the same pain followed her again. One day, she broke down and realized something. She had been trying to use love to fix what only self-healing could. That moment was her turning point. She stopped looking outward and started looking inward. Sarah took time off. She learned to enjoy her own company again. She cried, prayed, journaled, forgave, and reflected. She faced every painful memory she had been avoiding. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. But day by day, she began to feel lighter. Months later, she walked differently. There was peace in her eyes, confidence in her steps, and calm in her heart. When people asked what changed, she said, "I stopped trying to be loved by others and started learning to love myself." That's what true healing does. It brings you back home to yourself. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without feeling the pain anymore. It means looking at the person who hurt you and not feeling bitterness, but understanding that they were also broken in their own way. It means learning from the experience instead of being defined by it. Healing is freedom, freedom from resentment, from anger, from guilt, from shame. It's choosing peace over pain. Sometimes healing also means forgiving yourself. So many women carry silent guilt for trusting the wrong person, for ignoring red flags, for staying too long, or for losing themselves while trying to love others. But listen, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. You can't punish yourself forever for mistakes that taught you what you needed to learn. Self-forgiveness is one of the most powerful parts of healing. When you forgive yourself, you stop being your own enemy and start being your own healer. There's a beautiful quote that says, "If you don't heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you." And it's true. Unhealed wounds show up in unexpected ways. You become suspicious even of those who mean well. You push away people who genuinely love you because your heart is still guarded. You misinterpret kindness as manipulation because the past taught you not to trust. But once you heal, you see the world differently. You stop projecting old pain onto new people. You stop carrying old anger into new opportunities. You finally make peace with where you've been. Healing also teaches patience. You can't rush it. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel broken again. And that's okay. Healing is not a straight line. It's a journey with ups and downs. Be gentle with yourself along the way. Don't compare your progress to others. Everyone heals at their own pace. What matters is that you keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. Think of a physical wound. When you cut yourself, you don't keep touching it to check if it's healed. You clean it, protect it, and give it time. Emotional wounds work the same way. You have to stop reopening them by revisiting painful situations or people who broke you. Some people are not meant to return. They were lessons, not destinations. When you let go of what hurts, you make space for what heals. Healing also brings clarity. When you're broken, everything feels confusing. You don't know who to trust, where to go, or what to believe. But once you heal, the fog lifts. You begin to see things clearly. What you deserve, what you value, what you will no longer tolerate. Pain can blur your vision, but healing sharpens it. There was another woman I met once, a teacher who lost her job unexpectedly after years of dedication. She felt betrayed and unwanted. For months she stayed home, feeling useless and lost. But slowly, she began to rebuild. She took online courses, learned new skills, volunteered, and spent time in nature. 1 year later, she opened her own tutoring center. When I asked what motivated her, she said, "Losing that job was painful, but it was also the best thing that happened to me. It forced me to heal, to grow, and to see my own potential." That's the beauty of healing. It doesn't just mend,